welcome to Psyched, a conference where we explore psychedelics through social, economic, and political perspectives. I'm Marik Hazan, and today we're joined by Alex and Allyson Grey. Alex Grey and Allyson Grey are co-founders and ministers of COSM, the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors. Alex Grey is a renowned artist in the field of art and spirituality. Born in 1953, his innate interest in drawing led him to pursue a formal education in fine arts. After working at the anatomy department and mind-body department of Harvard Medical School, he began to turn his knowledge about anatomy, healing, and psychedelic and mystical experiences into visionary art, most notably his Sacred Mirrors collection. His art portfolio started in drawing, and it expanded to paintings, installations, sculpture, performance art, and process art. Allyson Grey is a conceptual abstract painter and co-founder of COSM and has long been a mentor and influencer of the contemporary visionary art movement. In 1971, in a psychedelic awakening through the guidance of Ram Dass's book, Be Here Now, Allyson heard a voice calling her to express in her art an essentialized worldview. Chaos, order, and secret writing came to artistically symbolize the three essential characteristics of human perception, a minimal yet all-encompassing artistic statement worthy of immersion for a lifetime. Allyson's art is a personal and shared meditation on the structure of thought, life, and enlightenment. Alex and Allyson have collaborated in performance art, live painting on stage throughout the world, and of course, the social sculpture called COSM, Chapel of Sacred Mirrors, that the Greys co-founded in 1996. Alex and Allyson, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to Psyched.
Oh, what a nice introduction.
Thank you, Marik.
Thank you,
Of
Marik.
course.
Great to be with you.
Yes. So to kick things off, I wanted to ask a little bit of a quirky question. That both of you have had all of these incredible mystical experiences, dreams that have really inspired your work. So over this past week, have either of you had a profound dream or experience that you would want to share or dive into?
Well, every day you want to say something first? Go ahead.
No.
Every day, we do yoga and meditate and hang upside down. And so in those experiences, we do have visions and regularly and practice emptiness, really, and as far as profound psychedelic experiences in the recently, no. I've had many wonderful cannabis-assisted psychedelic experiences every day, and it's a profound way to live your life. But I can't say, my visions come into my art. What about you, Alex?
Well, I think it's fascinating too, because we're all about visionary art, but for me, the main message of visionary art is the implications of kind of oneness and the results of the mystical experience. It's not just the special effects. So the kinds of experiences are more like we just, during our yoga sessions afterward, we'll do an inversion. And during our inversion for 5 minutes, we'll read to the other. Oh, yes. And so we were reading Padmasambhava's text, Self-Liberation Through Seeing with Naked Awareness. And it's a beautiful text where it contains pith instructions on understanding the nature of your mind and the nature of being, and getting into the presence that precedes any of the special effects or the symbolism of the mind. And so underneath it all is this condition of oneness. And for me, that's perhaps the most profound treasure that is in the psychedelic experience, but is in the experience of life. That we could have this experience at any time, really. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the other beautiful things that psychedelics show us, because we're in an altered state that really only makes available a more expansive and perhaps even true understanding of the infinitude of our being.
The common language around either psychedelics or mystical experiences is often that there is not really a language that can define a lot of those states and experiences. But I would love to hear, what are your relationships with writing, not only sacred writing, but also just writing in any language that you can look back on and really be able to interpret? Do you both journal regularly? Is there a writing practice in your lives, and how do you relate to it?
My art is about writing. I mean, my art is about secret writing. And so it's about chaos, which is the material world where all things are broken in entropy. And the order, the experience of the inner realm of bliss and the oneness of all things through a network of light that we're all interconnected. And that's order. And then there's secret writing. And secret writing is the windows between the inner world and the outer world, which are made of symbols. We read reality in terms of symbols. You know, everything in our material world, we have a judgment about. Our judgment mind is a meaning-making machine. And so through the filters that we have through our life, we may see gray hair and we think witch, or we think grandma. So there's and I love my grandma, and oh, that witch is scary. So you have these filters that everything you see has laid upon it or has, filtered through it. And so that is, secret language is the ineffable and untranslatable language that I created to represent, symbolically, because art is all about symbols and meaning making. It's, you make these things and then people make meaning out of it. Mm-hmm. So, so I created secret writing as that place between the inner world and the outer world where we make manifest. We make things happen out here, and then in here we think of it. Mm-hmm. It's not art, by the way, if it's in here. It's only art if it's out there. And you have to have evidence for it to be art. Mm. So, but anyway, but the writing, I'm a writer. I mean, I always write, and I have edited, all of Alex's books and all of our 11 Cosm journals, and I wrote the foreword of a book called Xenolinguistics, Psychedelics in Language, and it's by Diana Slattery, but she invited me kindly to write the foreword for it. There are many artists who have seen secret writing and made art from it. In my mind, since I did it, since I started doing it in the early 70s, but I know that it opened up a way for other people to, there's some wonderful, calligraphic artists and art about writing.
I think that we can see that, through our visionary experiences, that we do see writing and scripts and things like this, hieroglyphic kinds of undecipherable. The Tibetans that I spoke to said in dream they could see what they called Dakini script, that is cryptic language that is perhaps on a wall or something like that. And so the idea of visionary languages and even the visionary origin of language is something that has been talked about. And I want to say that along with this beautiful symbol of creative expression, which is what like secret writing symbolizes, that faculty of communication. That I believe that we hear, in the language that spirit, spirit speaks in every language. It's not using a language almost, but the meaning can be translated into all languages. And so no matter where people come from, they also hear from spirit, not only see the beauty of spirit. And so I at a certain period of time, when I was doing no psychedelics at all, I was awakened at like 5 a.m. And in a repeated, it didn't always happen every night, but it would happen, that I would awaken, but there would be a phrase in my mind, and it was like the first line to a transmission that I better write down. Mm-hmm. And I knew that if I didn't get up and write this down, I wasn't going to receive the rest of it. It would take that line to write down, but then it would all come out. And it was like, I was too early in the morning for me to be thinking. I would just hear it and write it. And so I think that they're different, I don't know whether they're parts of ourselves, the pure, beautiful part of ourselves, or that just I do attempt to make an opening for any higher force, or especially the ones that have worked through me before, to continue, a relationship. But this was, I believe it was a particular angel that spoke probably for a couple of years to me.
Well, you're a compulsive writer. Alex is
I
a
am.
compulsive writer. He has always a book with him, and he's always, writing. Can I say one more thing, though, about secret writing? Is that secret writing, that means writing that is from the divine, that is uninterpretable, literally, is biblical. There was the writing on the wall. You heard about the writing on the wall? Well, that was Belshazzar. He was the king, and he saw the writing on the wall. No one could read that writing. The prophets couldn't read the writing. No one in the village, no one in the town. So then they got David to come, and he could read the writing on the wall. See, that's what made him king, King David. So, but he said, the writing on the wall said, you are weighed in the balance and found wanting. Your kingdom is based on sand, and he basically said what was on his mind, I think. But anyway, that was writing that was on the wall. Everyone saw it, but nobody knew what it said. So I think that this secret writing from the divine,
well, also
is something that we've experienced, with psychedelics and before.
Right, and the very name of the Almighty. In
It's
Judaism,
unpronounceable.
the unpronounceable name. So here you have a kind of pretext. Yours is the unpronounceable language.
It is, yes.
But we also do believe, and receive higher order of words, from a higher order of intelligence. Mm-hmm. Really amazing.
In that process of communicating the things that you are experiencing in your art, what does that journey look like in terms of the blocks that happen throughout the process? Are there a lot of paintings or sculptures or works of art that you have that just never get finished? When you do hit those blocks, do you decide to push through, or do you decide to say, like, I'm going to step back for a while? What does it look to hit roadblocks in that process?
Well, I don't know whether it's roadblocks, but I guess roadblocks to completion. For me, that Nietzschean phrase, it takes chaos to give birth to a dancing star. That's my excuse for the chaos of my studio corner, There's books in piles, there's, drawings one on top of the other, my paint's piled up. I tend to create kind of a nest, of chaos that, that it all emerges
That
out
is
of.
true. That is true of you, but it isn't true that you have a lot of paintings piled up that are not finished. You finish them.
I do.
And there's some backlog. There's some that you do, like say you started a live painting a long time ago and you'll pick it up later and finish it. But I have to credit Alex in that the demand for original work, pushes him to complete. And so he's got a bunch of stuff right now that he's completing. There's people that want work and people want shows, and we got, an Entheon opening, which is going to have a lot of the work that we are, that's been completed. So I think it's a discipline, to to complete work.
Exactly. I do want to say a strange thing. There's a fellow here who's working here is our dear friend Delvin. He's been part of the COSM staff for many years, but he was remarking as he was looking at my working on a painting I'm working on right now. You know, I saw the sketch for this back in 2002, and I've seen you work on this painting over these practically 20 years. And so I'm just now finishing, I hope I'm finishing, or at least moving farther along, a painting called Net of Being, which Toole made famous. And so a painting can have a long lifetime, and for me that painting has. And so there are fits and starts sometimes, you know, that interrupt things, you know, and so each painting kind of has its time, and as long as I'm alive, I'll probably keep pushing forward certain things.
And I just wanted to insert in my work, you know, paintings, the reward for me in the work that I do is finishing. I can't wait to see it finished because I know when they're finished, pretty much. I mean, you know, it's like for me, it's a lot more defined. But in my social sculpture, COSM, never finished. Never finished. There's always more. It's the greatest, you know, kind of canvas with the biggest palette that we could imagine, and there's just endless.
The ongoing work in progress of life.
Love
you
it.
know?
I love that, though.
I'd actually love for both of you to dive a little bit more into that. What is a social sculpture? How is that defined through COSM? And what are, I guess, the different paints and tools that you have to be able to create it?
Well, social sculpture was a term that was coined, I believe, originated by Joseph Beuys, in the 50s or the 60s, Alex, who for instance, was an artist, very great, famous German artist, started the Green Party movement in Germany, and planted 7,000 oaks, had a piece called 7,000 Oaks, where he was bringing attention to the acid rain in the Black Forest and the dying Black Forest, and he planted 7,000 oaks, and his son helped him to complete it. But social sculpture is art with the intention of transforming social systems, you know. So you want to, you know, create transformative art. You engage others. You work with committees and communities. You organize things, and you make output that is artistic in a, you know, socially engaging sense. And that's what COSM is meant to do, is to be a, you know, a spiritual, creative center, whether it be on, you know, online or on site. We have a place in Hudson Valley, but, you know, lately we've been very active online, very active. So it's wonderful. We've been getting to reach a global community, like we always say to. The mission of COSM is to build an enduring sanctuary of visionary art to uplift a global community. So we have been able to reach out to a global community, but the building of a temple is where we is our ground of being, really.
And because you know, years ago it was clear to us that building sacred space is the work of a community. Certainly it's the work of individuals, but it's also it has always been the work of communities that have put together sacred spaces, because there has to be a space that it's sacred for. And so for us, the visionary art for me is a kind of new form of sacred art. Artists are witnessing their own mystical experiences, and they want to somehow communicate them in their art. I think it's a natural thing, and we're just part of, you know, a wave of thousands of artists who've been doing this and who are continuing to do this. And so that in itself makes a bond with a community. People who have seen these dimensions, they like to know other people have seen these dimensions, and it's in a sense validating for people who may fear for their sanity if they don't see something of this altered state mirrored in the outer world. And so this is one of the other values, I think, of creating a sacred space that has a purpose like this. The social sculpture part is the community engagement. There has been tens of thousands of people who now, have made small contributions that have, over decades now, helped bring Entheon, a sanctuary of visionary art, which we had no idea how any of this could come to pass. We're artists in our loft in Brooklyn being basically downloaded with, now build a chapel. Okay, millions of dollars I think that takes, isn't that right, God? It's like, so how's that gonna happen? And you're not supposed to sell your art. You're supposed to make a chapel out of it. Oh, isn't that how people make money with it? Anyway, don't worry about any of that, just make it happen. So now, 20 years later, miraculously, a community of artists, mostly in creative people all over the world. It's a big community, a global community, even if there's small pockets of people who think this is a good idea. They're the people who have made this happen. So to me, it's a miracle. It's like spirit in the angelic human realm. Like, hey, this would be cool, and it's just boom, it's happening. It's happening. So that's where the miracle and the rubber meets the road. And artists are really interested in right at that area, bringing heaven to earth. Yeah, how do we do that? And so enough people get together, that's a social sculpture. Just the effort, let alone temples come up, they get destroyed. Still, the effort that, millions of people over the centuries have done to create something sacred so that they could come together and celebrate this sacred thing rather than, make weapons and hurt each other. Or, it's like, it's a different intention that bonds a community. And so for this purpose, I think churches and building temples and things like this, building sacred space, has just always been a social sculptural kind of thing. And Joseph Poyes put that perfect spin on it. Yeah.
For the both of you, the vision for Entheon came from a shared psychedelic experience, from what I understand. How important have the both of you been to one another to being able to create this dream? Do you think if you had had those visions separately, it would have been able to happen?
No, it would never have looked like this. I can just tell you, if you knew us and you knew our life and where we came from, I think that this just to have this idea, but just to start with, in 1985, when Alex and I had already been together for,
10 years.
Yeah, 10, 12 years, whatever. We had our first MDMA experience, and it was legal at the moment. It actually became illegal that year as well, but we were gifted 2 doses, and we lay on the bed, as we like to do, and either closed our eyes or put on blindfolds and just lay there next to each other like this, on our backs, just not talking or touching. And came out of the experience, like when we were ready to come out and talk about it, which was, hours later, we had both envisioned and really detailed envisioning of a sacred temple. The feeling that the greatest, offering that 2 spiritual artists who devoted to and made contact with divine through LSD earlier on in our lives, what what is their greatest contribution that we could make, as artists? And we felt that it was a temple of art, a temple of visionary art that, would be offered to, the public, really. I mean, we both had this very practical, almost consideration for it, but we also had a vision of what it looked like. And it had no means, by the way, no means to do that. There was not great wealth and we could just or we won the lottery or something. No, we had no idea how to do that. Okay, so it did take us another 11 years before we became a nonprofit organization. We had that earlier on, but in 1996 we finally became a nonprofit. We had, a sort of a side business that we were doing this chapel thing. We'd have events and whatever. And so we had a few events and turned into a shaman telling us that we should start full moon ceremonies in our home. Well, we did them in our home. We have a loft in Brooklyn, and we did them there. People wanted to come and see Alex's art. It was very serious. They really were ringing our doorbell quite often, and there was a lot of demand to see the work. If you have a show of them, maybe once every 18 months, and you can't show them again, so what do you do? The book came out in 1990, and people wanted to see them, and we were not going to we had a family, we were not going to so we had to figure out a way where we could have kind of a monthly showing. And the full moon was, the intention of the full moon was to identify and cultivate friends that might be interested in joining with us to build an enduring sanctuary of visionary art, where we would also include other visionary artists who we knew were working at that time and, worthy. And so it just became sort of like a genre that I think we were, integrally a part of and wanted to represent in the art world. And but we didn't think of it. We just knew we wanted to build a temple, and we started to talk to people about it at every full moon. And we had other people's performances, and people, shared their wisdom and poetry and dance and song and performance art and craziness. And it was a performative spiritual variety show. And we've been, we're about to air our, what is it, John? Our 233rd, I believe, consecutive, in an unbroken chain of full moon ceremonies since January of 2003. So we have made it a social sculpture in that we have now, even though we do it only online, we have curations. So we show people's animation, their poetry, their dance, their music. So it's a wonderful program, and it's coming up on Thursday night. But we've done over 125 programs or so. I mean, so people can see the kind of performative collaboration that we've been having with other artists. And so that's what happened. And building the temple, we are right now completing Entheon. The interior of Entheon is being completed, and the show is being hung, and we are getting ready. Now, the exterior of Entheon is a sculptural countenance that Alex and Ryan Tottle created. Alex is design, and Ryan is a sculptor. I worked with him, a digital sculptor. And so that's our next project, is to wrap this sanctuary in sculpture. And it'll be, an incredible, I don't know.
Offering.
To eschaton, like the experience from which you do not forget, and so we're going to wrap it in sculpture, but we're going to open the interior first, and so we can show the sacred mirrors, and it's incredible. It already is, and we've been working on it we've been here in the Hudson Valley, where we found a home, for 13 years, going on 14 in September. So we've been here all this time, just developing a place for our community to come, like beautiful, like every building, beautiful. It's an old retreat center. And so we've been working on it for 13, 14 years.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yep. The visions that we had together really laid the foundation for everything that unfolded since. And so now we've been able to braid together with other people's visions and form kind of an outpost for visionary culture as on the East Coast. So,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that these will continue to spread, various communities forming their own kind of creative centers all throughout the world.
Yeah.
I see it happening already.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about the specific challenges that were faced in these last 25 years of building this. But before that, would love to hear a little bit more about the culture of the Hudson Valley. Some people are calling it kind of the psychedelic mecca of the Northeast. There's so many different interesting projects happening. So would love to hear a little bit more about the culture there and all of the different things that are going on and your place within that kind of buzzing ecosystem.
Well, one of the fascinating things you may know about the Hudson River is that when the native people were here hundreds of years ago, they called it not the Hudson, as you might expect. They called it the Mohicanituck, and that's the great flow that goes both ways. So it's a tidal river, a moon river, that reverses directions 4 times a day. And so 6 hours, the river will flow upstream, and then it will flow downstream, and then it will flow upstream, and then it will flow, so continuously. And so this is a unique feature, or one of the unique moon rivers. And I think that it's always given this Hudson Valley area a special energy. And there have been remarkable sacred centers all along the Hudson. And they used to call this area in the 19th century the Burnt Over District because we could go just a little bit further and find the Fox Sisters. You can find the beginnings of Mormonism. So the Fox Sisters, beginning of spiritualism, and that gave birth to Spiritism and things. And so, and then now we have Buddhist centers, we have various kinds of interfaith, I would say, sacred sites dotted all along the Hudson, still monasteries and things. So we have a lot of sacred sites and energies that have collected over centuries. In fact, once we found this place and were basically assured by the spirits that this is the place, do everything you can to get it. As soon as we had gotten this place, we started to see, oh yeah, this, of course. And we soon learned that very nearby, within walking distance, is an LSD chapel. Not only are we near where Timothy Leary and Ram Dass and Metzner, put together, the first Millbrook.
But the LSD chapel, it was before
LSD chapel.
Before LSD was invented.
Okay, yeah,
right?
no, it was in the
But it's there.
1800s.
It's still
1800s, but it's called the LSD chapel. I can't even believe it. So it's nearby, and of course, we're hoping to contribute Entheon soon to this, kind of dots of the sacred energies that are around here. Of course, you've got what happened in Woodstock,
across the river.
that just was a moment where, nearly 500,000 people tripping at once. Mm-hmm. That creates a morphogenetic field, that that is continuing to manifest.
Well, I just wanted to say that COSM is, located where there was a retreat. It was a retreat center of a church before us. But anyway, we're only 65 miles from Manhattan, so we have this train that comes right up here. It's very, conveniently located, and there are spiritual retreat centers, just like, meditation center, Tibetan Buddhist center, a very, very legit, like amazing Buddhist center, is very walking distance from us too. So there's all of that, and we're very close. And I'd love to see this area become a psychedelic, spiritual, associated center, kind of area, because
That's right.
a lot of enlightened people.
And Menla's up here, the Thurmans run that center, and so there are numerous.
Garrison Institute is behind.
Yeah, Garrison,
Rose,
Omega
Jonathan
Institute.
Rose.
They're
Omega.
all up in the Hudson Valley and things. So, and of course, just all the literate and aesthetic people who are up here doing their own creative work is quite a community to be around. But I'm sure it's like this throughout the United States at various.
New York is so culturally
hotspots.
rich, so we're so lucky. Where are you guys?
So I'm in upstate New York in Rochester.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Hey,
So
neighbor.
not too far. Yeah. And I
Rochester.
drive through the Hudson Valley quite often. I don't know if y'all know about the work of Ingmar Gorman and Elizabeth Nielsen with Fluence. So they do psychedelic-assisted training for psychotherapists, and so they've done a lot of work in the Hudson Valley as well. But yeah, have been kind of going through. There's also a really interesting center called Reconsider that's starting up there as well. Has a lot of really interesting work around conflict resolution that's taking place. Kind of folks on opposite sides of political spectrums, of economic spectrums, being brought together to participate in ceremony and work through conflict, create just more cohesion between people. So there's definitely some very interesting things happening in the Hudson Valley. Yeah, if I wasn't with my family up here, I'd be down there. So yeah.
We were so lucky. We were so fortunate to find this place, and we love New York, we love Brooklyn, we love our home, and this is a great retreat.
And also in the coming years, that I believe that there will be more and more centers, and even psychedelic centers, that will find have values in common and may be able to share resources in various ways. So we look forward to that.
Definitely. Yeah. No, I'm super excited for that region as well and everything that's to come. Just jumping back a little bit, I do still want to discuss a little bit about some of the obstacles that y'all have faced in these last 25 years, building up Cosm to what it is today. Were there days where y'all just kind of sat down and said, we're not sure if we should be doing this? Were there serious doubts, or was it, always kind of
No.
going forward?
There were no serious doubts that we should be doing this. I think that we were pretty clear that we should be doing this. By the time we got to here, by the way, 13 years ago, we were already, we had a center in Manhattan for 5 years. So we got this incredible space in Chelsea where, the clubs were all coming in, and all of the coffee shop and all the galleries were coming in. So it was an industrial area that was developed into the art center that it is now, and they were building the High Line, which is the old
We
beautiful
had tremendous good
walkway.
fortune just being offered angelic kind of opportunities that really took every cent that we had of investment to do it. And did we ever have naysayers that people said, don't do it, this is a bad idea, this is doomed to fail, and you're all going to regret this?
Oh, important people said that.
Absolutely. Everyone around us told us these things, and to get some reason and to not risk everything for God's sake, and are you kidding? And yes, we definitely had naysayers, and there were people, I'd say down to simply us, that were even our real estate agent, after 18 months of trying to get this place, said, really, you guys, if it's not, some things are not going to happen, And
Alex said, I don't think we've done everything we could do. That was it. And we did everything we could do. And
Hey, you want another 40K?
they couldn't get a better buyer than us because they were a
Okay.
church and we were a church. And so it was like passing it along. You know, you have to pass it along. If you're a church or you're a nonprofit, you have to pass it along to another church.
They had it
nonprofit,
for 7 years.
and they couldn't sell it.
And-
Nobody would take it.
But
There was
it's
so much trouble. There was so much improvement that needed.
perfect
The place
for
was
us.
basically, you know, and you wait until you come down
A
here, my friend.
fixer-upper.
Yeah.
You will not believe what we have done. And
I know.
it came with 6 buildings and a barn. And they were all a mess. So we had to like work one thing at a time. It took us 13, 14 years. Yeah. But obstacles, challenges,
Yeah.
having people, you know, just making more friends has always been our New Year's resolution. We just needed to talk to more people about doing this. And I'm telling you, angels were on our shoulder and at our side, just guiding us to do the things that we needed to do in order to talk to more people and get more support.
And these
more
things
money.
vacillate.
You know, we have to do it.
You
and,
know.
we have wonderful friends. John here. It's like, you know, since he's been here in the last 6 years, we've been able to do so much more. But even before John, everybody who worked here just made incredible contributions. And we were always going to the next level. But we, for very, very, very most all the time, thin cushion. Very thin and very concerned, very concerning, you know.
How are we going
how are
to
we gonna do
pay next month
Right.
was
But you
a
keep going one
question
month
we
at a
asked
time.
ourselves
Yeah. One
for
month at a time.
years.
You just
For
keep going.
years.
And
The stone where we would walk would appear before us. Now, I don't know whether it's faith or stupidity or whatever, you know.
I
but-
think it's because we
but-
don't look back. We don't look sideways. We look forward. That's the thing. If you really have a project that you want to see it through, don't turn away from it. Keep turning toward it and saying, what can I do? Okay, so but what can I do? And you keep going in that direction. You always have that possibility, like, well,
Yeah.
I could, you know, sell out and go bankrupt and blah, blah, blah.
Commitment.
No, what could I do? Even if you do go bankrupt, what could you do? If this is really what you want to be doing, I don't feel like Alex and I ever, doubted our being artists or thought maybe we should try another career. I mean, we didn't know how to do anything else. That's all I have to say. This
And-
is basically what we knew how to do.
But we
And just kept
certainly
doing it.
did not know how to do a sacred space,
No.
a church,
We had to
a
learn.
temple,
Yeah.
doing any of that stuff. Absolutely. We're painters, okay? And so all of that has been,
But we're
I
social
feel
sculptors,
like
too.
the gift of both community
Yeah.
and whatever guidance we've gotten inspired by, you know, so. And there have been forces pushing in the opposite direction. Yes, all the way. And it, like you're saying, it depends on how much attention you want to give to them. And sometimes it's better just to keep focusing on building the good things that you have.
I just
And
want-
that,
yeah.
and also, Leary was fond of saying that if you're going to be a bridge person, you're going to get walked on. And who's the visionaries? The ones with the arrows in their back. Okay, so you keep walking forward and making as much forward motion as you can. Look, I feel lucky to be alive every day making forward motion on this project, and that it's still a collective of people are happy to be involved in.
I have one piece of advice I just wanted to say if you have a big project and, you know, artists, if you're any kind of artist, musicians, dancers too, actors, have to most often have to ride more than one horse and many horses. And so don't think that you know, it's an easy ride. It's a blissful ride, but it isn't, you know, like you can like sit back and eat bonbons. You
It's
have
an
to
adventure.
there's many horses that you have to ride, and if you don't know how to ride those, you have to learn how to ride them. You just have to be, and get the help from other people, and always be inclusive. You can't possibly know everything. You have to get people who know more, and give and trust them, and give them responsibilities, and go through what you go through. But you just keep on keeping on.
In that vein of not necessarily knowing how to build a temple, sacred space, and learning how to ride horses that you're uncomfortable with, what I guess were some of the most humbling experiences or the biggest lessons learned for the both of you over the last 25 years? Things that took you really out of your comfort zone and things that you had to quickly pick up to be able to stay on track?
I think one of the things was one of our first town meetings, where we learned that some of our neighbors were really disappointed in us, people that, had heard loud music late into the night or drumming or something like that. And of course, we weren't aware that we were disturbing them, and of course wish we hadn't, but we learned about it there, and it was kind of shocking, and of course we changed our habits. We're not here to annoy people or to just make noise or anything. We're here to actually have a sacred center and things, and to get along and to be an asset to the neighborhood, actually. And
we came from the city, in a part of the city where you could make as much noise as you wanted to, as late as you wanted. And we took advantage of that. You use your advantage, whatever your advantage is. If that's your advantage, you have all-night parties. And, they were alcohol-free, and we were like the alcohol-free all-night party center, you know what I'm saying? And so we had that, and so then we came here, we had to adjust.
Doesn't work. Yeah.
No, we had to adjust. And it really took us too many years, to tell you the truth. But we were learning how to be a church, how to be of service, and how to be part of the community. And that is a very important thing that people moving into a community, if they are doing a retreat center, have to do. Any kind of thing, any kind of business, really. You have to deal with your town. You have to learn to live with the surrounding area, because we're a nice oasis here. It's amazing what an oasis is.
Like the Hudson Valley is dotted with many communities that could support forward-thinking efforts, but you're also you're in a neighborhood with multiple points of view and perspectives, and so you simply have to be respectful and understand that you're part of a larger community, and that maybe habits that you formed in one place might not be appropriate in another. So we've been learning, and we've been becoming better friends with the town, and making contributions where we can. And
the community here.
And
the community here has changed and grown, and now, of course, around COVID has become incredibly, cohesive and trusting, amazing, because we were an oasis of non-masked people that no one could come in, no one could go out, except our deliveries, and they were no contact. So we were really serious, and we became, it was like an incredible pressure cooker. It was a great opportunity for us, and everyone stayed and is still here. And, for an entire year without any changes, it was just incredible.
It's
We
definitely
have a delivery.
been, a learning year and a learning process. I'd say that the idea of creating a sacred space, and how do you do that, and what are the various kinds of setbacks that have been going on throughout that. Of course, it's a challenge, but it's kind of like you have this child that you're trying to, or this thing that you're trying to bring into form. And so I kind of think of it more as this amorphous collective art energy, that it's taken years simply to get to a point, where we're going to have an open exhibit again. We had an open exhibit for 5 years in the city 13 years ago, you know, and so it's taken a while to.
And we've had many events and workshops and symposiums and psychedelic symposiums even, and some wonderful things going on here.
But
until
they weren't
COVID,
But they weren't the exhibit that we
exhibit,
had,
yeah.
and the sacred mirrors, you know. So this has been this just simply the long process of bringing it into existence, you know. Now that it's here, like, oh yay, you know. But the 20 years of pushing the boulder, you know, it has been.
Well, we're not open yet.
Yeah,
We're
there
not
you go.
open yet. We're still not open yet, and we probably, you know, we'll
Keep pushing.
we will
Yeah.
take we will take a few more months to complete the exhibitions inside, and then, you know, gradually our friends are coming. So everybody's anxious to come.
Yeah, we look forward to your visit at some point.
Of course. Yeah, I'm super excited to come down as well. I think it's one thing to be able to build sacred space, build a church, build a temple. I think it's even another one to really be able to build a religion of some sorts. There's a lot of folks in the psychedelic space who are saying that, hey, you know, we love what psychedelics bring to us, but we really feel like putting these compounds or medicines into a religious context could be helpful for the movement in general. I'd love to hear your thoughts on religion, and also the integration of religion in COSM and in the work that y'all have done. Have there been temptations or desires to kind of create codified religion in any sort of way that serves the community, or is it more about bringing different religions together and allowing for them to practice in the best way that works for them?
Well, religion, I guess the term itself, to religio, to relink, and to my mind, it's the self and God, or self and spirit, you know, whatever the smaller self is, and the greater nature, whatever you want to call it, the integration with the most expansiveness of our being. So, Can
I say that COSM is an interfaith church? We are approved by the IRS, the New York State Attorney General, and our town. And that's what happens when you become a church. It's like you have to go through these various, and what they ask of you is, you know, who benefits from it, and what do you do? So anyway, over time, since we've been doing the full moons for 19 years since our home, we were doing them in our home. We've been developing certain formats, things that we can offer that are very open-ended, with people's performances and people's sharing, and, you know, just a format, and then inviting people in and doing solstices, equinoxes, every full moon, every new moon. We have something called Art Church. It's an interactive art making program, and so people can, you know, kind of just visit with their artistic self once a month, or work on it in between and bring it in. And so it's kind of like it's a little bit it's thematic. So we always have a theme, and our theme, say, this month is life energy. So we'll bring that up, and people will go deep, and we're doing it on Zoom now for members. But so we have these various formats. We are an interfaith church. We try to stay open to change, because artists, as Alex often says, you know, resist dogma, and we are creative people. We resist dogma, but creativity is a spiritual path that we put forward, and so we practice that spiritual path at our church, and even in the performances and in full moon.
Yeah. So we've looked at these various kinds of dates of sacred timing, you know, in terms of solstices and equinoxes, full moons, new moons.
Alignment
These
with
are
the
things,
celestial.
yes,
Yeah.
these are things that are aligned by the celestial and not by a particular religion, you know, but respected in a way by practically all religions and marked in some way, even mythically. The winter solstice, that's Christmas. Why is it Christmas? Why do we align the rebirth of the light with that? So we've been examining the kind of integral religion, where is it that religious practices overlap, and what kind of enduring mystic truth is it that we find in all of the religions? Is there anything? What are these uniting factors? This is why we went for the kind of interfaith approach, because basically you want a welcoming spirituality, one that is open to all the paths of spirituality, and is open to the possibility of the new. And this is why we felt like, although our church was founded on psychedelic experiences, for now, we have been a church that has been focusing on creativity and spirituality, because certainly this is one of the ways that people experience their spirituality, is when they're doing a creative thing or when they're experiencing art in some form or another, music, or this is one of the primary ways that people have spiritual experiences. And so I think that this is an open question that I think is a good one to keep a creative and open heart about, and to see what kinds of universals could be applicable to a coming psychedelic era. I believe it's a religious reawakening and reconnection with the sacraments give you a contact with the infinite, and give you contact with ultimately, hopefully, and for most people, with a world of spirituality that is new. And so this to keep it fresh and to not codify everything. This is one of the reasons why we thought, well, marrying art with something that is typically codified and wrapped up with dogma it's a good tension to have, to be able to say, this is where we have to evolve. This is where those things, we can say that's a story, that's not a law, that's a myth. But it's a useful myth. Let's see how we can understand that as a story. Let's see, I think that the context of art also, takes some of the violence out of religion, and just say, can't we appreciate each other's creative expression of the divine? It's a context for appreciating. And quite often, even if we dislike somebody's religion or something, we could appreciate their music. Oh, right? They do make beautiful temples, or, I mean, at least.
Can I say something about our structure? Mm-hmm. We do have core values and our values, and they are published and posted. So we do have that sort of structure. We've been encouraged and really supported by some wonderful people to help us come up with all the sort of structure. And we're still working very much on structure. I mean, yeah. we have a future ministers program. It's very small, but it is very important to us, and so that people can lead a group of creative spiritual people. And just to say something about the psychedelic aspect, not everybody who comes here is psychedelic. Many people who are psychedelic, and most people who are psychedelic that we know, have evolved spiritually, and they realize that spiritual aspect of the experience, and are looking for a place where they can find the others. See, so that's what it became, is a place to find the others. And I know there are a lot more places like that are growing up everywhere. So it's very hopeful, because there's all positive results and all positive evidence is coming out about that.
Yeah.
The spiritual, mystic nature of the psychedelic experience is transforming people's lives and making them better. That's why they can't hold it back. And any way that they try to hold it back will only develop a black market. So if you don't want to have a black market, you have stuff like what they have with alcohol. You present your ID and you get whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? So that you know that you're of age, you have an age limit, that's it. Otherwise, there's not I don't hear about a black market in alcohol. It's just available to people. And so without that, I think that you're going to continue to have that. But I think that the therapeutic and the scientific evidence around it is so compelling, and it's so useful, and people are being healed by assisted use, and I think that's so important too. So I'm glad that that's.
I think the Native American Church, the UDV, a variety of psychedelic churches around the world have already been exploring how to do ceremony, group ceremony, and meaningful group ceremony, as have a lot of offshoot groups, and certainly ayahuasca circles all around the world have been exploring ways of having a safe, sacred setting. And so I think that it's an important thing for us to address, and as these things do become more and more available for people, what's a safe setting, and how can we best support each other? How can we have an open, because these things, as substances, as Rick Strassman pointed out, they're very powerful, and in the kind of the wrong hands and in the manipulative hands, which have also been associated with religion, and spirituality, we want to be very careful about having openness, so that it can be observed by others, and no abuse can happen and things like that.
Yeah. In your experience kind of holding space for so many different types of people, have you seen some of those harmful dynamics that have tried to present themselves? And if yes, what were some of the things that caused them as an institution, or that both of you did to really try and prevent those things from happening going forward?
Well, when you are hosting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, and really, tens of thousands of people a year, yes, you see every kind of, human interaction. You see people, first of all, we have when we were having events before COVID, we long had a Zendo representative. We had trainings here, numerous trainings here, and staff members were trained as a whole, so that anything that would go on, we have a wonderful and amazing security team, trained by a Sikh. It's we have an incredible security team and wonderful gentle giants, I call them. But anyway, so when we had the big events, we always had that, and
you have ample but supportive security.
Yeah.
You have the engagement of law enforcement on the property.
They were right here.
And so you have a secure,
really.
a secure setting, and a no tolerance situation for because we're not a drug center. We don't permit it. We're not.
Now cannabis is finally legal in New York, but it wasn't.
There's an opening.
Before COVID, it wasn't, and it wasn't allowed here. And anybody who was had it would be asked to leave. So it
was not the kind of a thing where we would be running a ceremony and then there's some problem happened. No, there was none of that ever happened here, and that's and that was never our focus.
No.
So, but nevertheless, you'd see people who were, had decided to dose themselves and come. And, the most problems, I have to say, were from people who were psychiatric patients who did not take their medicine. So, yeah, or alcohol or something like that.
We didn't allow it, but it got in.
The kind of psychedelic use, I think, happened really with amongst an intelligent crew, and many people I heard, had come to the space and had an experience, and and it was an opening for them, a great experience for the rest of their lives. Now, look, we didn't really have much to do with that in terms of things, but we created a space where they felt comfortable and they were supported by community, and for a time it was helpful for people. We don't know what's going to evolve in the future. We've got, in a couple of years, there will be psychedelic therapy that will be, people will be available to do that. Perhaps will be some kind of integration. I see us as a kind of a place for people to integrate their psychedelic experiences, to come and look at the art that may mirror some of the things that they've seen and felt, and to be able to have conversations with people who may have had the same experiences.
Mm-hmm. The theme of the conference this year is, what is it that we still don't know? Are there ideas that come to mind of things that the psychedelic community as a whole still isn't really aware of and will need to go through a growing process to be able to realize?
Well, how will psychedelics impact our eco-consciousness, for one thing? Will we become conscious enough to start saying, oh, wait a minute, we can't destroy our planet, it's the only one. And so waking up in time, I think, is an important, that psychedelics can be a catalyst for this. And also in terms of our social awareness with each other, and how do we treat the other, whoever the other is. And
self-wellness, people are getting well. People that are, incorporating these sacred substances into their life's practices are getting better and well, and they're going to become leaders, and they're going to become influencers of even their own children. So it's the benefit is going to be logarithmic, as they say, or like a broccoli that just sprouts in all directions, and all the good in all the areas. I mean, I like to think of Woodstock as kind of our beginning, 1969, and we were in college, and there was no course called ecology. There was no degree that you could get about studying.
Women's studies.
Women's studies didn't exist in 1969, and neither did black studies. They were just starting to be sort of like, after hours programs and things like that, attendant programs. So now there are careers, and every third young person that comes here is in some eco career. They're going to school for that, and so it's just it can't go fast enough. We all know this. We're all aware of this, but it also is evolving. It's evolutionary, and I really do feel that the psychedelics really catalyzed those 500,000 New Yorkers that like were tripping at the same time, sent out the sparks, to and in San Francisco the same thing's going on. So it's like big broccolis growing of people who are aware of the need for Earth consciousness, right? And I just feel like we have a lot to be hopeful for with all the great visionaries that are evolving right now.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to all the new art forms and the arrival of mysticism as a subject for contemporary art. I mean, this has been something that's been the center focus for our lives, but this is why, sacred art can be something that isn't just following a canon, but it can be a new exploration of, the ever-fresh psychedelic horizons that we're able to glimpse and see the magic of consciousness and the magic of the world. I think I think we can have a re-enchantment of life, consciousness, and our understanding of the planet and each other, through these magical substances. And just looking forward to it.
Yeah, yeah. Switching over to a slightly different topic, but one that I really love to chat with families about, and especially parents of children. I know that both of you have, I think, a single daughter. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
And would love to hear, what has it been like to raise your child in, first off, kind of the environment of COSM, but also just as psychedelic aware parents, parents that have had psychedelic experiences. What have some of those conversations looked like? What has that process been?
Well, I actually spoke at the World Psychedelic Forum on psychedelic family values, and that is really, what do you tell the children? Now, when we were, raising our daughter, who was born in 1988, it was still really scary, and she went to a lovely school, and we were not going to have anybody know anything about our, our history, our psychedelic history is available and published and whatever, so people knew who we were, but I'm just saying none of that went on in our home. We basically, all but gave up on psychedelic use, not psychedelic thinking or psychedelic writing or psychedelic art making, but basically very little few occasions while Zena was young and growing up. It's a great time to let that go for a while. It was then. Now it's there's more acceptable ability, like cannabis is legal. If people's children came into our home and it smelled like pot, they would not let their children come to our home, and that would not be good, because we had a lovely, lovely group of people that she was going to school with, and I didn't want to, do anything like that. So yeah, it was a wonderful period, and then we'd go out with our friends or go away for a weekend or something, and then we would, take that opportunity privately. Neither one of us wanted her to experience it in any way that might frighten her or that she might be in jeopardy. So we were taking responsibility in that way and taking time off for ourselves when we needed to.
We also heard from other people who had been dosed by their parents, who felt like that was an important initiation thing. They had said, I wish they hadn't done that. I wished I had done it with my friends, So they're like, gee, okay.
Yeah, but those kids in Millbrook, Alex.
And then there's other children like really young, 8 years old, taking LSD with their parents at Millbrook, like early on, and they said was one of the most profound, memorable, and important experiences of love and connection and things like that. They're still talking about it as an important experience in their lives. So, gosh, this is one of the psychedelic horizons. For ourselves, we always felt like it was better just to not impose and things, even if Zena had lunch with Albert Hoffman and things like that growing up, and like
dinner.
So she was part of the scene and things like that, and saw healthy, good people, who were part of the psychedelic scene and things. And she really helped us in the first years of COSM in the city. She was there as part of the team, so. I think that, once you see that this is really a kind of a suppressed minority of people who've been using these sacramental substances as a way of relating to spirit, when you see that context, it's really a suppressed religion, actually, that. Okay, well, you're not just trying to lose your mind doing drugs or something like that. These are very occasional ventures into something that, humanity's been doing for millennia to get greater meaning and orientation toward life. And
I just want to say about parenting that you try to be inclusive, but you don't want to push anything on them. And really, they don't care that much about what you do with your life. That's the truth. It's really, they want to find their own way. And so you just be there to support them in that. And
inform and say, this has been meaningful for me, et cetera, but not, like, you should do this. I don't know, because we're not like that, especially as parents or with other young minds and things like that. It was important for me. I'm happy to tell people about my own path.
I just say one more thing. We were 13 years happily married before we had one. And I'm just saying, it was incredibly good thing to do. And so people who are wondering and on the fence, don't miss it. If you can.
Definitely, yeah. We're about to be wrapping up, but just a couple more questions to close things out. Y'all intersect with so many different artists on a regular basis. Are there artists out there that you feel like are doing incredible work, creating some of the most compelling work that you've seen in a long time, but maybe aren't getting the recognition that they deserve, folks that you would want to highlight?
One artist that I would like to highlight is Amanda Sage, who, the first minute COVID would shut everything down in LA, she started the Vision Train. And if you are an artist who, sits up nights and would like to see what other artists are doing, or like to listen to somebody else talking about their art, or listen to somebody else's DJ set or whatever, or just know a community of artists that get together on Zoom, her Zoom channel, Vision Train, has only artists, no crazy people, just artists, and you have to show that you're an artist by doing a drawing, and of your vision of your train car, and it's wonderful, and she has received and served. I mean, her initiative, because there's a lot of people working on it now, and it's all over the world. So it goes 24 hours a day. There are people in Australia that are up while you're sleeping. So it's like she's gotten a bunch of leaders, and this is why I want to, blow up Amanda, not because she's not well known. She's one of the most well known. I think she deserves it. She's been working and painting and teaching. She's a great teacher, and a really incredible visionary art leader. And there's a lot of leaders that she's cultivating on this Vision Train too. And I give a lot of credit to her partner Joe Bob as well for making it happen. So I just have to shout out to Amanda Sage.
Really so true. 100%. Another artist from the Denver, Boulder area is Android Jones, and there's of course, he's taking things in the technological directions of VR and dome shows and various other kinds of things. I think we see animation coming online with a lot of artists today. That's one of the most exciting areas, I think, in so the areas of NFTs and the artists that are starting to manifest the kind of psychedelic computer animation for these spaces, I think, is opening doorways.
I want to shout out for Meow Wolf.
Yes.
In Las Vegas, we have 2 installations in this incredible thing, and people are getting out there now. People are traveling again. People are going without masks. I haven't been there yet, but I'm going. And so, get there. It's incredible. Follow Meow Wolf. You'll see some pictures.
Yeah, the new Vegas space features art by many visionary artists.
And Amanda and Android are both in it. And
they're part of it.
Yeah.
Jonathan Solter, Luke Brown, a number of incredible artists from around the world are really trying to make these ineffable visions the language of visionary culture. Like, we understand the spaces we've been in when we see each other's artworks, and so I think that new artists are when people experience these sacred spaces, then they want to bring the work to form in new ways, and there's just dozens of incredible artists that I'm learning about every day. So Instagram is an incredible place for visionary artists, and you can find a visionary artist you like and then see who they're following, and then et cetera. And sooner or later you'll find some of the best artists on the planet.
Yeah, to tie things out, just one last question for the both of you. Any words of wisdom, anything you'd like to impart for the audience today?
Basically, if they're someone who's been exploring as a psychonaut, to make sure that you integrate the experience, to try and make something out of it before you just jump into the next experience. Certainly try to journal about it, and if you can, make a drawing or make a poem or whatever kind of creative effort that you feel like. If you've gotten a transmission of some kind, a gift, make some kind of artifact out of that gift. That's the treasure of art making.
And I'll just tell you that the thing that the DMT elves told me on the first DMT I ever did, given to us by Terence McKenna, they said to me, laugh more.
Yeah, I definitely hear that. Well, Alex, Allyson, thank you both so much for coming on today. I really appreciate the time and just looking forward to keeping this conversation going.
Lovely
Thank you,
meeting you,
Marik.
Marik.
So good to meet you.
To our audience, we'll see you next time on Psyched.